Hello, my name is Carl Holmgren, and this is the second of two videos describing the construction of an antique wheelbarrow flower box. In my first video I described the construction of a wheel, and in this video I'm going to describe construction of the handles, legs, and the box. While the wheel was fairly complicated, the rest of the wheelbarrow is really quite simple, consisting of two handles, a couple of hardwood block bearings for the wheel, a front leg and a rear leg, which also become the inside of the corners of the front and the rear of the box. We're going to start by cutting out two pieces for the handles, and I need to find some material between nasty knots like this. Each handle is 44 inches long. Two 44-inch pieces, two 25.5-inch pieces, and for the rear legs, two 20-inch pieces. We have a rear leg and a front leg. A stain can is just about right for marking the radius. And then, we're supposed to meet at an angle of 58. I'll use a 60-degree triangle to estimate about where it should be cut off. Okay, saber saw for the radius and handsaw for the angled cut. Join the bottom end of the legs with a 3-inch deck screw and some metal strapping. Drill a pilot hole for the deck screw. I'm going to cut off these hanger straps that I bought at the big box store. Cut off this large hole. And nip off the corners. Wrap these around the bottom end of the leg. A couple of more nails now to finish up one leg. To shape the hand grips on the handles, I measured back about 5 inches. Made a mark. I'm just using the wheel to line up the end of the handle and the 5-inch mark. I'm just scribing an arc with the wheel. Make an arc to outline the top of the hand grip. And we'll just cut these out with a saber saw. I'm going to narrow the handles slightly. They're just a little bit wide for a grip. So again, mark 5 inches from the tip and mark about 1/4 inch in from the side, lines that I can follow with the saber saw. I'm just going to clamp the handle in my bench vise and go at it with a smoke shade. And I'm going to use a foam sanding block to finish off so that we don't have any slippers. At the bottom forward end of each handle, we need a little bearing block for the axle to run in. And I've got a piece of white oak, 1.5 inches thick, about 8 inches long, which I'm going to split into 2 pieces, 4 inches long. I'm going to make each bearing block 2 inches high. Just spacing the hole equally from the top and bottom side of the bearing block. This block to drill the holes through the bearing blocks for the axle of the wheel. I want to set up an angle gauge to help guide the drill at the correct angle. So I've laid out the handles 16 inches apart at the back and 8.5 inches apart at the front. And I'm just going to set my angle gauge and use it to guide the drill as I drill these holes through the bearing blocks. Split these bearing blocks into 2 pieces. Okay, just round off the corners and they're done. Make up a leg and handle assembly for each side. And use the drawing on page 4 of the plans for measurements to position each of the legs on the handle. Then mark the legs. Since the half-lap mortises are going to be 1/2 inch deep, I've clamped a stop block to my back saw because we're going to be making quite a few of these cuts. transfer the marks from the first set of legs to the other side. Bearing in mind we want to make two sets with mirror images of each other. And then position the handle into the joints. And mark the handle for the other half of the half lap joints. Okay, one side done. Now to finish up the mirror image for the other side. Attach the axle bearing block to the underside of the front end of each handle. A couple of 3-inch deck screws. Drill pallet holes. Just putting a 1/4-inch washer under the head of each of these deck screws. Give a little bit more holding power in the softwood. And then we can attach the legs to the handles. With a couple of 2-inch deck screws. Going from the inside out so the screws don't show. Legs are on the outside. Now, since this is the right-hand leg, I also want the hole in the bearing block to be angled correctly so the handle can splay outwards. The handles and leg assemblies on my assembly bench. 16 inches between the handles. Clamped temporarily in place. And I'm going to start with the rear boards. Now I'm going to plane the underside of this board at an angle to correspond to the handles. Cut the second board exactly the same length. attach these with 2-inch outdoor treated deck screws. The backboard of the box provides a lateral stability for the legs. So using 4 screws per side. Next is the front boards of the box. And again, I'm going to plane the bottom edge so it meets the angle of the handles. Okay, I've got the bottom edge planed to a bevel, and I'm just going to mark this first board on the outside of the legs. So again, I'm just going to use my bevel gauge to make sure that both of the ends of this lower board are the same angle. I've marked and cut the 2 front boards for the box, and I'm going to install them with screws drilled into the top, and I'm going to drill some pilot holes first of all. I'll add some more screws from the bottom side when I get the box completed, so I can do it a little bit more easily. Started making the floor. I've made the front floorboard and the rear floorboard rough length, beveled the front edge of the front board to match the front board of the box, and beveled the back edge of the backboard to match this angle. Next step is to mark out and cut out the notches for the legs. I'll finish marking the notches with the steel rule. And with the combination square. Okay, I'll hold the floorboards in a vise and make the cutouts with my back saw. I've completed notching the front and rear floorboards, but before I screw them in place, I want to fit another floorboard between them, and with a straight edge on the outside of the legs, I want to mark the boards to cut them off. A few screws and we're finished with the floor. I've temporarily clamped this lower sideboard in place so it's flush with the underside of the floorboards. That way it's going to cover up the ends of the floorboards, and it should cover up the ends of the front and back panels. To make the wheelbarrow look a little less angular, I'm going to trim the sideboards with kind of an S or an OG pattern. So I've got a coffee can lid, 4 inches in diameter, to use to mark these circles. And then I'll cut them out with a saber saw. I've attached the bottom board with a couple of screws from the inside out. And now I'm going to mark the top boards. I've achieved the effect that I wanted. It's kind of an OG pattern. You need to round off this rear bottom corner, trim off this rear leg so it's flush, and then I need to stain this exposed surface to match the wood, the treated wood finish. Here's the finished product. I refined these cuts on the sideboards, so I left a little notch between the yin and the yang, and all my OG cutters have a little step between the concave and convex shape. The plans will lengthen these two front legs by an inch so they come closer to the top of the inside of the boards. I erred slightly on these straps that wrap around the bottom of the legs. It would have looked better had this one been the same length as this one. The wheelbarrow is surprisingly light, about 8 kilograms, some 20 pounds. And I think it's going to be durable to last for many, many years, if not decades.